If you are a JRPG fan and you do not have a Steam Deck, as the great Reggie Fils-Aimé says,
what's wrong with you?
Yeah, guys, what's wrong with you? Anyways, hey guys, Nishquik here, and today I want to talk about why this thing right here, the Valve Steam Deck, is the best purchase for anyone who is a fan of JRPGs and RPGs in general. I'm gonna specify specifically JRPGs because I know a lot of my friends and a lot of people who watch this channel really love JRPGs. So this is going to be just me talking about my experience with the Steam Deck, because as of now, it's been about a little more than a year since I've had this. So I want to talk about the experiences I had, some of the JRPGs that I played, and why this is a really good companion piece to the Nintendo Switch for any JRPG fan. So if you guys enjoy Nintendo games, JRPGs specifically, even PC gaming, because this right here it's like a handheld PC if you didn't know. If you enjoy all that kind of stuff, give this video a like, subscribe for more content like this, and maybe even join as a channel member for more additional perks. Anyways, I want to first start off with my history of how I ended up getting this, because I was a little bit hesitant on the Steam Deck initially. I was like, I already have a Nintendo Switch, I don't really need a Steam Deck, I already have a Switch and I have a gaming PC, which I built in late 2021. I spent a lot of money to build that. So the Steam Deck didn't feel like something I necessarily wanted. But then I started to think about, oh, how would this game run better if I had it on the PC, or if I had it on the Steam Deck versus the Switch, or the handheld option of playing a JRPG on the go, which is a little more powerful, which can run a little bit better. Those ideas were creeping in my mind, as well as other possibilities, which I'll get into later in this video. But the opportunity to get a Steam Deck arose when my good friend Shane, he's actually been on a few episodes of the EXP podcast, so shout outs to him. He was not really using a Steam Deck because he's mostly on his PC, he mostly plays on his PC. So he was like, oh, I got this thing, I don't really use it, I can sell it to you for a really good price. So I was like, if you're selling it at a very good price, I'll happily take it. But unfortunately, which I don't really care, this is not really a downside, this is the LCD model, 256 gigs. So this is not the OLED, this does not have an OLED screen, and it does not have as good of a battery life as the OLED, and it does not have a 90 hertz screen. So this is 60 hertz, less of a good battery life, but it does have the 256 SSD in here. So if you guys want to get a Steam Deck, I would suggest looking at the OLED model, because for the price you're getting, you're gonna get much better battery life, better screen, and just an overall better package in general. I think you have even more storage. I'm not entirely sure. You guys can look into that later. But so that's how I got my Steam Deck, and I immediately downloaded so many like RPGs on my Steam Deck to try out and be like, hey, I can finally play this game in handheld mode and not on my Nintendo Switch. And you guys might know that the Nintendo Switch is a treasure trove for JRPGs. Like, so many JRPGs are released on there, and they sell very well on there, but like another treasure trove for JRPGs is PC, obviously. Like, so if you look on Steam and you look at the JRPGs on there, there's so many. If you, like, I'm overlaying some footage here right now of my Steam library. I have an entire section dedicated to JRPGs, and I have so many just sitting in my library. And not only that, I have entire sections and folders dedicated to the Final Fantasy series and all the games that are available on Steam, because there's so many Final Fantasy games available on Steam, basically all of them, barring just a few here and there. And then I have an entire section for Atlas and Megaten games. So many of their games are on Steam. Not, of course, not everything, but so many of their games. Even this year, 3 of their massive heavy hitter games just released on Steam. And then I also have an entire section for the Tales of series. The Tales of series is releasing a whole lot of games on Steam, and there's already a whole bunch there right now. And these are just singular franchises of video games. And that's not even including the ones I have in my wish list and the ones I just haven't talked about in general, because there's a whole bunch of indie JRPGs, retro JRPGs, whole bunch from Square Enix, Capcom, Atlas, Bandai Namco, etc. and etc. If anything, the library and the amount of games available on Steam and the games you might have available in your Steam library right now would make the Steam Deck a very good purchase. So one thing I've noticed as I have been playing JRPGs over the years is that they're not very graphically intensive games. They're not like your PS5 Naughty Dog game or Sony Santa Monica or anything like that. And a lot of them are not even like large in terms of scale, like an Elden Ring or a Zelda Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, things like that. They're usually smaller tier games, maybe even AA games, which are not really graphically intensive, not really that big and massive in terms of their world, in terms of the content that they have. Well, slowly they're starting to get a little bit bigger, have a little more content, but the fact that JRPGs aren't as graphically intensive makes them perfect for PC, because when I play on my desktop, I always max out the settings, but then whenever I play on my Steam Deck, I usually do get very good performance and either a solid 30 FPS if I'm locking it at 30 FPS, or a really solid 60 FPS with a little bit of graphical compromises here and there. And if I compare some games which run on the Nintendo Switch versus the Steam Deck, they're going to run a little bit better on the Steam Deck. And especially this year and last year when we did not have the Nintendo Switch successor, it was a really good system to have to play some modern releases in 60 FPS or a little bit higher than 30 FPS and still get a solid handheld RPG experience. And if you look at like all the JRPGs in the Steam store, many of them are going to have the Steam Deck verification, which means that they're optimized and ready to play on the Steam Deck with no problems. You can play them at a relatively high graphical setting and they'll run fine and they'll look fine and not have any controller or text issues or anything like that. There are some games which still say playable because of either some small font or some graphical issues here and there, but if you guys do have a Steam Deck or if you're looking to get a Steam Deck, I think a better place to even look for Steam Deck verification and just a general classification if a game is good to play on the Steam Deck is this site called ProtonDB, because there are games which say that they are unoptimized for Steam Deck or unsupported on Steam Deck or unverified or just playable. But if you look at ProtonDB, they might have a gold or a platinum status, which means that, yeah, they actually are playable. They are 100% playable right when you download and install the game, but you might have to have some like slight changes here and there. Like a good example is Trails in the Sky First Chapter, the original version on Steam. I got that from like a giveaway and I was gonna start it, but then I saw it was unoptimized. I'm like, what? Trails in the Sky is such a simple game, not very graphically intensive. What's the issue? And when I looked on ProtonDB, basically all you had to do is just make a small change in the properties of the game. And once you make that change, then all the issues which were relating to like the audio and the anime cutscenes or something are all eliminated and you can just play the game from beginning to end with no issues. So the Nintendo Switch is my most used console, and that's because now at this point in my life, I really appreciate the ability to play games in handheld, because whether I just come back from work and I don't feel like sitting in front of my monitor or a TV, if I'm multitasking throughout the day, I prefer to have a game played in handheld so I can just play for a little bit, put it away, get back to doing other things, and just have that little bit of freedom. Whenever I feel like I play my PS5 or a game on my PC, or like if I dock my Steam Deck or my Switch, I just kind of feel locked in there, and I feel like I have to spend like this many hours sitting down playing that game. And sometimes if I'm playing like a very story-heavy game, I don't mind doing that. Like nowadays, I really like to have the freedom and the mobility to game wherever I want. And I like to take my systems on trips and play in the airplane, or just take them on road trips, or just play in short bursts. And like I said before, the Switch, it's showing its age. It's getting a little hard for some modern games to run on there, and some modern games aren't even on the Switch. So I will give you guys like some examples of games I've been playing on my Steam Deck. Like this year, obviously, Persona 3 Reload was the big one. I played that from beginning to end, mostly on my Steam Deck, but I did play it on my PC whenever I wanted to see some like really important cutscenes. And what's cool is if I played on my PC and I finished up, I put in a save, I can like go back and I can continue off where I left off right on my Steam Deck, because once your cloud saves have synced on your Steam Deck, then you can pick up exactly where you left off. So that's really convenient if you just connect to the internet, get some cloud saves in, and then you're good to go. Persona 3 Reload was great because Tartarus was something I was very nervous to do. I was kind of apprehensive about that because I was like, oh, it's going to be boring, it's going to be monotonous, it's going to be repetitive. And I will say this, like, genuinely, if I played this on PS5, it would have taken me so much longer to get through the game because Tartarus would have been so much more of a slog. But I would do Tartarus sessions in short bursts on my Steam Deck, maybe like 5-10 minutes, and then if I got bored, I would just turn it off, suspend the game, put it away, and then get back to it a little later. Or if it was just a long day after a lot of work and I was just really tired and I just didn't want to sit in front of a screen, I would just cozy up in bed with my Steam Deck, grind some Tartarus, and then just go to bed after that. And same goes for Metaphor ReFantazio, and it's funny because I actually think I played Metaphor way more on my Steam Deck than I did on my PC, because I played them kind of simultaneously. That was around the time I started my new job, and I would get home pretty late. I would be really tired, I would just shower, have some dinner, and then just pick up my Steam Deck, hop onto bed, and just play more Metaphor, because it just had that relaxing feeling. I could just get through a mini dungeon really quickly, I could get through some bonding episodes really quickly, and just playing in short bursts made it feel like I wasn't burning myself out. And that's the big thing with this. I don't feel like I'm burning myself out when I'm playing in handheld because I can just always suspend the game and pick off where I left off whenever I want to in the future. So that's a really, really awesome benefit. And what's great about both of those games is even if I was having graphical issues or performance issues, what I did is I made an in-game profile on Steam, which you can do, and then I locked those games to like 40 or 45 FPS, and I added some other like game-specific settings to optimize it perfectly for my specific style of play. So I was conserving battery, I was still getting nice visual clarity, and still getting solid, good performance overall, and getting the most out of my experience while playing on Steam Deck. The fact that I wasn't locked to sitting on my chair and like in front of a TV, it's hard to kind of describe that feeling of being locked in, but having this freedom of playing on handheld is really nice. And one more quick like game I want to talk about, which I'm playing right now actually, if you can see it, is, yeah, right over here. Dragon Quest III HD 2D. Shout out to Square Enix for giving me the code for this on Steam Deck. It's been a really fun game so far. This game is very, very, very grind intensive. You're gonna keep grinding, you're gonna get into random battles. Let's see, I'm gonna get into a random battle. I'm here in a random battle, and you're going to be grinding these random battles a lot, and just doing them, again, short bursts, having that freedom. Like yesterday, I got done with dinner, got done with some other chores, and I just like grabbed my Steam Deck, did some battles, climbed up a tower, talked to some people, found some treasure, and that was like maybe 20 minutes. Turned it off, I had to do something else, and finished up whatever else I was doing, grabbed another bite to eat, came back up, and the rest of the night I was just playing on my Steam Deck, grinding away at Dragon Quest III HD 2D. So these games, so my point is, the style of games that JRPGs are, the content that are in these JRPGs, and the fact that they aren't graphically intensive, and the fact that you can play them at a little bit of like a higher boost in like graphics and performance and quality, it really pays off to play them on the Steam Deck versus like the Nintendo Switch or even the PS5. So when it comes to the Steam Deck, you can play mostly all your games in your Steam library, and if you guys are JRPG fans, you should be good to go with like 90% of your games, like I said, like look at the ProtonDB classifications of what they're classified as. But you can also like mod your games. It's similar to, like, this is legitimately a PC. This is a handheld PC, so you can add mods, you can do whatever you want to like some of your games that allow you to do those kinds of things. So I'll give you an example, like Final Fantasy VII, the original Final Fantasy VII, I played with the Suna mods. You can see in my video, Learning to Love Final Fantasy VII, I installed some of the Suna mods to make the pre-rendered backgrounds look a little bit better. I replaced the chibi style character models with some better models, and I added some little bit of mods here and there. Some mods caused me a little bit of issues, but otherwise it was generally a pretty smooth experience, and I found some really good tutorials of how to set up like Suna Mod, Seventh Heaven Mod Manager on the Steam Deck, and it all worked out pretty well. So kudos to those people, and I'm very glad that I was able to get all that done on here. And even the Moguri mod for Final Fantasy IX, which has seen a lot of substantial improvements over the past couple months recently, I played through the entirety of Final Fantasy IX on my Steam Deck. And with these two mods in particular, it kind of locks you into playing on your Steam Deck because it doesn't support the cloud save. Even if you're playing from the Steam version of Final Fantasy VII or Final Fantasy IX, unfortunately it doesn't support cloud saves, so I played through the entirety of those games on the Steam Deck. But for Final Fantasy IX, it was a perfect experience. I loved how the game looked. It was a great Steam Deck game. Like I said, I could grind a bit here and there. I used some of the cheats to get some of the ability points up. And installing the mods and stuff was actually not as hard and difficult as I thought it would be. I initially thought it would be like really complicated, really hard, but there's some really good videos and tutorials on YouTube on how to do a lot of this stuff. And just follow the instructions, ask for help in the comments if you need it, and the people who are making these videos are usually pretty helpful. I'll also link to some of them in the description below. Shout outs to those guys. So one thing I forgot to mention is emulation. Emulation is very good because if you install this suite called EmuDeck, it configures all your emulators, and if you have all your games like downloaded, it'll just configure everything for you. You just choose a few settings. You can even have them on your Steam ROM manager, and you can see them in your Steam library, which is very good. And of course, I don't condone piracy. I'm not an advocate for piracy whatsoever. But when it comes to emulation, I've been able to play a lot of games that have not been released on modern consoles, or which are just very old games that have not seen remasters or remakes at all. Of course, many of you know I was able to play Xenogears through RetroArch. Unfortunately, I had some issues with playing Xenogears on my Steam Deck, so I moved over to my PC. But if you play Xenogears on Steam Deck, it runs perfectly on DuckStation, and so many other PS1 RPGs are really, really good on Steam Deck, like Legend of Dragoon and Parasite Eve, and all these games look and run very well on the Steam Deck. You have a treasure trove of like retro RPGs. PS1, PS2, PS3, they all work pretty well on the Steam Deck, and if you are already experienced with emulation, you can play around with configurations and settings and presets for your controllers and your graphics and all that. There are some issues that I've experienced, such as moving from docked to handheld, and you have to reconfigure your controls. Like, for example, if I'm playing docked, like if I'm playing an emulated game docked with my 8-bit Do controller, if I just like remove the plug of my dock from my Steam Deck and I want to move into my couch to play in handheld, the controller configuration isn't going to automatically reconfigure to my Steam Deck gamepad controls, which is a little annoying. Oftentimes before I unplug the dock, I have to go into the settings and make sure I have selected the Steam Deck gamepad and then unplug so I'm able to play on the Steam Deck. It's a little convoluted, it's a little annoying, but with the whole EmuDeck suite, it's very easy to get emulators up and running and all that, so definitely look into that if you're a fan of emulation. So I want to end off this video by talking about some of the downsides of the Steam Deck experience. This to me is now the JRPG machine. until the Nintendo Switch 2 comes out, because, like I said, but there are some unfortunate downsides. One is the dock, of course, doesn't come with this Steam Deck like a Nintendo Switch. It comes with the dock. You don't get a dock with this, and the first party dock is very overpriced. Highly recommend not getting that. The one I got, I'll show you guys a picture. I'll have a link in the description below for what it is. It's a really good dock, and it's very simple. It just has a few USB ports in the back, HDMI port in the back, and then a port for where you put your AC adapter, and then that plugs in to the Steam Deck to power it up. But the fact that you have to get a dock separately, and I would say a dock is kind of required if you were doing a lot of modding stuff and even emulation, because you're going to be in desktop mode a lot, and desktop mode is kind of a nightmare and a beast. And that goes into me saying that, like, this whole system is great. Like, Steam OS is kind of insane what they're able to do. It's kind of like, I think it's like a modified version of Linux. And the fact that it's not Windows means you have to do a lot of workarounds to get a lot of these applications running on your Steam Deck. For example, like some of these mod managers like Muguri Mod, 7th Heaven Mod Manager, it's not as seamless and easy as installing it and running it on Windows. It's not like entirely complicated or anything, but you just have to go through some hoops here and there. And same goes with GOG. This is one like big problem I was having with Steam Deck. And of course, you can play all your Steam games on here, but sometimes you have games on other launchers. And specifically, I really like the launcher GOG or GOG Galaxy, or Good Old Games as they call it. It's really good because it's 100% DRM free. When you install that game from GOG, you 100% own it. So you can do whatever you want with that exe, you can do whatever you want with that file, so that's very good. So I've been trying to get some GOG games on my Steam Deck, and I've been trying to like add them into Steam as a non-Steam game, and I've been having some issues with that, and I didn't expect to have those issues, and that's a little unfortunate. I didn't expect that to kind of happen, and I'm trying to figure out exactly what I'm supposed to do with all that. And that's kind of a big downside, because this is a PC, it should work, but I'm kind of confused as to why it's not working, and it's a little unfortunate, because if I find a game on GOG which is a better deal than it is on Steam, I'm most likely wanting to get it on GOG because it's DRM free and I should be able to play it on my Steam Deck. But even with some of the tutorials that I found and some of the guides that I followed, getting GOG running on the Steam Deck is a little cumbersome, annoying, and I've run into some roadblocks here and there, so I'm still trying to figure that out. One other issue I had, and this was probably the worst experience I've had with the Steam Deck, is the fact that, and relating back to GOG games and stuff like that, so Steam is not 100% DRM free. You have more ownership of your games than, I guess, other game launchers, I would assume, but you obviously you have digital games. They're not physical. You don't 100% own them, and they're not 100% DRM free like they are on GOG Galaxy or something like that. Sometimes, depending on the game, you might get like a DRM check where it doesn't let you get into the game unless you connect to the internet. And that's happened to me a few times, actually. When I'm at someone else's house, or when I'm in airplane mode, I just open up the Steam Deck and it tells me, oh, you need to be connected to the internet to access this game. It doesn't happen all the time, but whenever you do have a DRM check, it's just a little annoying, and I'm like, I'm supposed to be playing this game on a handheld. I would not have this problem on a Nintendo Switch. I would not have this problem if I had a DRM-free version of this game from GOG, which I installed on my Steam Deck, which would be running smoothly. I'm still trying to figure that out. And yeah, some things like that are a little annoying, and especially with the games I'm talking about in this video, JRPGs, like 95% of JRPGs, which you're playing like a single player story with like a beginning and an end, and you roll the credits at the end and you're done, none of these games require you to be online as you play the game. So like, unless I have a DRM check or anything, I remember playing Persona 3 Reload at someone else's house, or Metaphor Refantasio, when I was literally in the plane on my way to India on vacation. I remember you're supposed to be able to play these games offline. If I had the Nintendo Switch cartridge, like if I put it on my Nintendo Switch, I would be playing the game offline, airplane mode, not connected to the Wi-Fi or the internet at all. So I would hope that it's the same thing on Steam Deck, but I've encountered instances where I have to be connected to the internet to launch a game for whatever reason, and that's a little bit annoying. And relating to that, of course, if you're playing on Steam Deck, none of these games are physical. So if you're a physical collector, if you enjoy physical games, if you enjoy that physical ownership, this may not be for you, but overall, when it comes to just playing JRPGs, experiencing JRPGs, and just getting the most out of modern JRPGs and even classic JRPGs with emulation and retro offerings on Steam, this is a really good system to have. So that's basically it for everything I had to say relating to the Steam Deck and how this has been a very good companion piece to me throughout the entire year of 2024. Because if I look at my Steam year in review, because like I recently got to see that, I see that I've basically played 50-50 on my PC and on my Steam Deck. And what's even cooler is I look at my Steam library, I look at all the games I played, I feel like I played on PC more than any other system in the year 2024. I hardly ever touched my PS5, basically only for like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Bloodborne Replay and Shadow of the Colossus. And I played my Switch on and off, but mostly like replaying games like Xenoblade and Fire Emblem. All the new releases, all the new games, all the new like backlog experiences, a lot of them have come from my experience with the Steam Deck. The offering of JRPGs on the Steam Deck is immense. It is on the level of the offering that you have on the Nintendo Switch, and a lot of Nintendo Switch games that were exclusive to Nintendo Switch, like your Live Alives, your Harvestella, your Triangle Strategy, have now moved over to the Steam Deck. And if you want a little bit of a boost in power, performance, visuals, this is your way to play them. I've not had any issues with like battery life per se, except if I'm playing like a really, really high-end game. Like I was playing the Tales of Arise DLC on this, and it was chipping away at my battery life quite a bit. So if you're playing higher-end games like that, you're gonna have to play around with the graphical settings a little bit more, but it's really impressive what this thing can do, how many different kinds of games are optimized for this system. And so that's a little bit about the Steam Deck. If you're a JRPG fan, if you enjoy playing JRPGs in handheld format, if you have a huge list of JRPGs on Steam, and if you just want to play them with a little bit of a boost in performance, I highly recommend this Steam Deck, because a lot of my JRPG friends who got a Steam Deck this year, they're really enjoying it. They can vouch for it in the comments below. Like, them owning a Steam Deck has opened them up to so many other different kinds of games and experiences. So let me know in the comments below what you think about the Steam Deck. If you guys have one, what kinds of games do you play on it? If you are into JRPGs, do you like playing games on your Steam Deck, or do you prefer playing it on your PC? Are you guys more of a handheld gamer or a desktop or console gamer? Let me know in the comments below. And yeah, be sure to give this video a like and subscribe for more Nintendo, JRPG, and Steam Deck content just like this. This is Nishquik signing off. Have a great day. Go play some great games today. Like a game on your Steam Deck if you already have one, or maybe consider getting one of these. I'll see you guys in the next one. Later. Hey guys, this is Nishquik. Thank you so much for watching that video. And if you enjoyed it, check out these two videos on the left, and maybe subscribe if you haven't on your way out. And big shout out to all my channel members whose names you can see on the screen right now. I'll see you guys in the next video. Later.